Alrighty, so got an exciting one here. Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Thomas Almeida. So Thomas Almeida, he is coming off 3 losses in a row. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. He hasn't won a fight in, I think, 4.5 years. So yeah, he hasn't been doing very well over the past couple of years. But yeah, he seemed like a bit of a can crusher in my opinion. Like, you look at his record and he's only beaten pretty average guys, and when he does get that step up in competition, he either gets knocked out or kind of out techniqued. But he did okay in the Jonathan Martinez fight. He did better than I expected him to. So yeah, he seems to be improving a little bit with his strike and defense. But yeah, a lot of his fights don't go to decision. 95% of his fights don't go to decision. For Sean O'Malley, around 75% of his fights don't go to decision. So I'm imagining this one probably not to go to decision. Just 2 power punches, probably. I would say one of them is going to go out. But Sean O'Malley has a 4-inch height advantage, a 2-inch reach advantage, and he's coming off his first loss. He seems to not think that it was a loss, and yeah, fair enough. That's sometimes the mindset people take, and that's fine. Really, I don't think it's delusional at all. I think he was doing okay in that fight until he obviously got injured. But yeah, that kick from Chito Vera he was aiming at the peroneal nerve, and he did hit it, and then Sean's leg gave out. So, it's absolutely a fair victory for Chito, but I can absolutely see where Sean's coming from, as he did get injured, and the fight was competitive before that. So yeah, I could see both sides, but I still respect it as a W for Chito Vera, because he won by, injury, and, in the old days, I'm talking hundreds, thousands of years ago, Sean would be dead if that happened in a fight. He would, there wouldn't be any doctors or whatever, but yeah, whatever. So, yeah, let's break down the striking of these 2 stand-up guys. And I don't mean stand-up like as in they're really good people, but I just mean they prefer to strike on the feet. For Sean O'Malley, he is a tricky guy. He's a tricky fighter to prepare against. He frequently switches stance. He throws in a lot of feints. He usually comes in with the karate-style stance with that wide base, and that's what led Chito to kick his legs pretty much. But he is very fluid with combinations and his strikes. You can see a good example of that in his, what's his name? Quinones knockout. So Quinones, he was dipping from side to side pretty, he was exaggerating his movements a little bit. And, Sean set him up with it and then made him dip pretty hard to his left side, I think. And then he threw the rear high kick and put him out. So, yeah. I taped this fight a while ago, and I've taped hundreds of fights. Hundreds of fighters since then, so I'm not 100% sure if that was correct, but seems to be what I'm envisioning. But yeah, for Thomas Almeida, he comes from that Muay Thai background. He looks to get in the pocket and just kind of unleash a short combination and then dip. He can overextend his stay in the pocket a little bit, and that's generally where he gets caught. But he's definitely better on the front foot when he's pressuring. And he seemed to come away from that a little bit in recent fights, since I believe he doesn't have as much confidence in his chin, which is fair enough. It seems to not be that strong. But it's very hard to pressure and be on the front foot when you're getting hurt every time you get hit. But yeah, for Sean O'Malley, he has a vast arsenal of kicks. He can do a bunch of techniques from either stance. He has very nice kicks. And even with, his power leg in both stances. So that's something you don't usually see. It's an unusual look for his opponent. But he will for the teep in orthodox generally. The body kick when his opponent is in the opposite stance to him. So if Almeida is in orthodox and O'Malley switches southpaw, he'll look for that body kick, absolutely. And he does set up that high kick with a feint or a jab. So Almeida's definitely got to watch out for that, because I think he got caught via a high kick before against Brad Pickett? I'm not 100% sure, but I swear he's got caught by a high kick before. But yeah. Right, so for Almeida, he looks to slip and then get in the pocket and then, throw a 2-3, 3-2 counter combo, just basic boxing combinations. And yeah, he will throw a counter 2 and a counter overhand. That's probably his best punch lately, since he's been kind of diverting away from that pressure heavy game that he used to employ. But yeah, his head doesn't really move off center line too often. Still, that pretty common with like heavy Muay Thai guys, especially Muay Thai practitioners coming out of Brazil. They generally don't move their head too much. They keep that high guard. So for Sean O'Malley, he'll be looking to, hit the body when he's covering up, but also, Sean O'Malley's counter right when he's in orthodox, it's a sniper. Like, he's very accurate with it, and he has a fair amount. Well, he has good timing and he has decent amount of power. He just has that wiry frame. Because yeah, like, he's obviously quick and all that, but he has a little bit of power. He has a little bit of raw power as well. You can just tell with the way he knocked out Eddie Wineland, because that's just a straight up punch. Like, he's setting it up feints and stuff, but and yeah, there is a question with Eddie's chin. It's like, has it gone? We saw the fight a couple of weeks ago with John Castaneda, who just pretty much lit him up at a certain point. But yeah, still, I think he does have a little bit of raw power. But definitely where he differentiates himself from the rest is the speed and the accuracy and timing. In the grappling for these two, for Almeida, when he tries to go for takedowns, he doesn't engage his hips or his legs when he's driving, or when he's trying to get onto his opponent's hips. He doesn't seem to have the best takedowns. He generally doesn't go to them though. But in this fight, I would kind of expect him to, and he's kind of hinted that he might. And for Sean O'Malley, when he's on bottom, he's looking for wrist control. He's looking to set up submissions off his back. That can lead to being open for ground and pound, as we saw Chito Vera came over the top with a hard elbow because Sean was just playing with Chito's wrist pretty much. He wasn't defending himself off his back. And you see that a lot with pure BJJ guys, guys who train a lot of pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think that's what Sean does a lot. He trains a lot in the gi. And he trains, because I think he was talking about, becoming a black belt and all that, and I think he's been working a lot in his ground game, and he's been trying to get his belt ranking up a little bit, but in my opinion, it's a bit dangerous when you're just playing with setups and stuff. It's just not the same, when you're at this level of MMA in the UFC top 15, I don't think you're going to get many arm bars and shit off bottom. So I'd probably just ditch that, in my opinion. Just look to go for takedown defense and, just reverse the position or just keep it on the feet. How these guys win their fights. For Sean O'Malley, he has, that bit of power that we talked about. He has good footwork. In the smaller cage, it will be interesting because, it's much smaller than the one at Fight Island. But, I don't expect Almeida to pressure, honestly, because he hasn't seemed to be doing it too much lately. But yeah, so he has good control of range. He's very good at controlling range in the octagon. And, he's good at being the general, the floor general, as we call it in basketball. The floor general of, organizing what's going on in the fight. And what I mean by that is he's organizing the pace, he's organizing the distance. He's very good at all that stuff. He tries to make you fight his fight, pretty much. And for Thomas Almeida, he has a fair bit of power in his right hand. And he's got that killer instinct as well, so if he does hurt you, he will go for it. So how these guys lose? For Almeida, his chin is absolute glass. Every time he gets hit clean, he gets rocked pretty much. And the fact that he doesn't move his head very often doesn't help. Also, when he can't close distance effectively and can't get in with his combinations, that's when he has trouble, which was the problem against Jonathan Martinez. And for Sean O'Malley, he seems a little bit brittle just in the body and physically and stuff. Also, if he does face adversity, he doesn't seem to have a plan B. Just kind of, yeah, it doesn't, if he were to be worked out and figured out, I'm not sure if he has a second game plan to go to, sorry. Yeah. So that's just something for the future. I don't think it's going to come up in this fight, but something for the future. Alright, past the victory for these two. For Sean O'Malley, look to keep it at kickboxing range, obviously. Look to not be on the back foot. Don't give him any edge. But, just keep touching him, because whenever you touch Almeida, he looks to reset, pretty much. He looks to reset his footwork and just kind of reset his mind, I think. But, yeah, if you just hit him with the jab, he'll look to just pretty much just reset and take a step back. So if you keep hitting him, you can keep racking up the volume. Also in southpaw, hit that body kick when he is using that high guard. When he's an orthodox, maybe a few leg kicks as well. He's pretty heavy on the lead leg. But when he tries to, come in and close the distance to get in boxing range, look to slide back and throw the right hand, and that's what I think he'll probably get it done with, in my opinion. It's probably the most likely punch I can see him ending it with. For Thomas Almeida, use those low kicks. You've used the low kicks before, so I'd like to see the low kicks being used, especially with the leg problems that O'Malley has had in the past. So either stance, try to attack those legs of Sean O'Malley. They're very skinny and, he's probably had a few injuries on them, I think. But just try and get the fight to the ground, in my opinion. On the feet, I think Sean is going to have no trouble, pretty much, with Almeida and the type of style he brings into the octagon when he's standing. I'd like to see Almeida try and take it to the mat and just try to control O'Malley on the back while O'Malley is trying to, go for those arm bars and whatever he does. So how I see this fight going? Alrighty, so yeah. I think the UFC made this matchup looking to get Sean's confidence back. And I believe he will probably finish Almeida. Or just dominate Almeida or finish him. Because I do believe Almeida does need to get into the pocket to do damage. And that's going to be very hard with Sean's, distance control and just his offense at distance. I think he's just going to be picking him apart at distance. When he comes in, he's going to slide back, throw the right hand. And at distance, he's just going to be kicking him up, pretty much. And I have a real hard time seeing Almeida implementing his grappling game, since we haven't seen it really. So he might have this hidden grappling game and wrestling game that we haven't seen, but I don't think it's going to come into fruition here. And I don't think his wrestling is all that, unless he's improved it in his last fight, in his time off since his last fight. But yeah, I just think this is a good matchup for Sean, and I think he gets back on track to the title. Alright, so here's the lines. Can't figure out how to fucking just get the screen smaller. But whatever. You know what line I'm talking about. So, Sean O'Malley's pretty juiced. I think he's like an 80% favourite, or maybe 75% favourite there, which is probably about correct. I think he does win a large majority of the time, probably 75 to 80%, yeah, probably. So I don't think there's any value on this line. I don't really want to play him at those odds because he still hasn't shown a lot in his game, even though he's had a lot of fights. He just, they've all been kind of the same opponent. So I'm just kind of, I just want to see a little bit more from Sean O'Malley. And for betting on Thomas Almeida, maybe if he got to like $4.50, I'd play him, but not at the moment. Don't really feel like it. So, yeah. That's my thoughts on this fight.